I think you can start.
Okay, whoever's here. Good evening to everyone. I hope English is okay. English is okay? I hope
Yeah,
so.
of course.
Very good. Okay, for those who don't know me, my name is Yitzchok Oriduna, otherwise known as Gury. Or I should say maybe Gury, otherwise known as Yitzchok Gury. But good evening to everyone, and we're going to discuss a very, very interesting topic tonight. If you saw the flyer, the beautiful flyer from Mr. Jacobs, it says the topic tonight is the international dateline according to Halacha. So it's an interesting topic. Now,
One moment. I have to
yeah.
tell you, I'm only sending it. Shuli made the flyers.
Okay. So thanks to your daughter, but
She's not there, but he makes the flyers.
okay. Okay, so the international dateline according to Halacha. So let's begin like this. If a person is just staying at home and not traveling anywhere, not doing anything, then there's no big issues really. Nothing that really they needs to know, because he just goes with the place there he is, and that's it. Especially Corona times and people are not traveling, then it's pretty much. How much of a difference does it make? But it's always good to know what's going on around the world. And especially as you start traveling, you're going to hit the big question about the international dateline. The question obviously is, where exactly is the dateline? Now, let's take a simple situation where we are here in Amsterdam. So the time now in Amsterdam is at 8 o'clock. As soon as you go east towards Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh, they are ahead of us in time. Now it's 9 o'clock in Yerushalayim. You go another hour further, it's 10 o'clock in the evening. If we travel west, let's call it towards America, then they are 5 or 6 or 7, 8 hours behind us in time. Eventually, if you keep going west or you keep going east, you're going to hit a point where you cross a day. You're going to be going 11 hours ahead and 11 hours behind. At some point, you have to say, okay, this is the point where the dateline is. Because you can't continue going backwards forever and you can't continue going forwards. If I stay over here in Amsterdam and I just do a full circle, then I must be either hitting the day a day forward or a day backwards somewhere along the line. Now, before we're going to split this share into 3 different parts. Part number 1 is we'll discuss exactly what happened by Bria So'olam. Let's start from the beginning. When the world was created, what exactly took place and how and when the sun was put into the world, where did it begin? Number 2 we'll discuss is, halachically speaking, where is the dateline? And we'll see there's 3 or 4 different opinions. Number 3 we'll discuss, that will be later on, is problems that come out when crossing over the dateline, or if you're going in or out of a dateline. There's 3 or 4 or more than that, problems that can come out halacha l'maaseh when one gets involved with the international dateline. So let's start from the beginning about the Bria So'olam. When the world was created, exactly what took place. Now, we are taking on with the assumption that we all know that the world is round. Now, if I ask you, Mr. Jacobs, how do you know the world is round? You look at the globe, right? Look on Google.
Okay, they learned it at school.
I learned it at school. Okay, so you believed everything the teachers told you, right?
No.
No. So either the teacher was a good teacher or you were good people. Just listen to whatever he said. Okay. I don't know. I try to tell my people in school, you don't have to believe everything I tell you. You can question.
No.
You don't have to believe everything a teacher says. The teacher isn't God, right? The teacher's a human being. But it's true. It's right. They taught you that the world is round. Now, only a couple of 100 years ago did they discover that the world is round. For thousands of years, everyone thought the world is flat. We didn't have satellite images, and we didn't have airplanes, and we didn't have boats that could travel around the world like we have today, and all the types of technology. So why should the world be round? It's flat. It looks flat. It is flat. Until they realized when they discovered America and they went round, they realized they came back to the same spot. Only a couple of 100 years ago did they realize the world is round. But I'll share with you a very, very interesting medrash. And we'll start off with this. It's a medrash in last week's parasha, in Parshas Nosai, which discusses when the Nesiim, when they came to the Chanukas HaMishkan, the Nesiim brought they brought a carbon. All 12 Nesiim brought the same carbon. The Pasuk tells us that they brought their carbons. If you look in the Parshas Nosai, I'll just tell you where the place is. It comes a few times the same pasuk, but I'll quote you one of them, and that is in Parshas Nosai, which is Bamidbar, Numbers, Parshas Nosai, Perek Zayin, pasuk Yud Tes. The pasuk says that the Nesiim brought a carbon, and they put it in a Mizrach Echot Kesef, is a basin of silver, and the weight was 70 shekel, and it was made out of silver. Says the Medrash, why did the Nesiim bring their carbon in a Mizrach Echot Kesef? Says the Medrash in Parshas Nosai on that pasuk, that the Mizrach Echot is something which is round. That represents the world which is round. So we have a very clear medrash that we already long thousands of years, hundreds, 1,000, 2,000 years ago. It says very, very clearly the world is round. Now we have also a Tosfos that brings that down, but we can see that the long before the Goyish world, secular world, discovered that the world was round, it was very clear to Chazal that the world was round. Now, if the world is round, then the pasuk tells us also Mimizrach Shemesh ad Mevoyoi. We all know that pasuk, which means that the sun comes up in the Mizrach. Mizrach is from the east, so it's east from us is Yerushalayim. The sun comes from Yerushalayim towards us. Now, let's just take a pause for 1 second just to make something clear. There's a solar year and then there's a lunar year. Solar year means 365 days, which is the way the Goyish world works, the secular world works. It's 365 days is a year. Why is a year 365 days? Because it takes 365 days, point whatever, 9 hours and whatever it is, for the world to make a full circle of the sun. A lunar year is 12 cycles of the moon.
Uri.
Sorry?
Yeah, okay, question.
Yes, sure.
It's interesting what you're saying. You say the world is turning around the sun for 360 days.
365 days, correct. Yeah.
365 days. But we speak always, and that is a wrong line, is that they say the sun is coming up and the sun is going down. But the sun is not moving, the world is moving. So the world is coming up and not the sun.
Correct. 100% correct. That's the point I wanted to mention. It's a very good point. That's why we say the sun's coming and the sun's going. The sun is in the middle. So let's just take, it's hard to give such a type of share online because such a discussion about the international dateline really should be in the classroom on a big board, but we'll try our best. I'm not sure if you can see this. Let's use this pen. This is a red pen. You see it? Okay, a red pen. This is the sun. The sun is in the middle. The blue pen is the world. So this blue pen, if it starts off over here, it takes 1 year to go round back to its original spot. And that's considered, that takes 365 days, and that's considered a year. Now, we all know the world is on a 23.5 degrees angle. The world's not straight. It's on a slight 23.5 degrees. That's the reason why we get different seasons. Okay, we won't go into that now. But getting back to our point, a day of 24 hours is the time it takes for the world to make a circle on its axis. The world in itself, let's just hold the world now over here. This is the world. If for this to turn round, it takes 24 hours. So there's two things going on. The world is turning round. It turns round once every 24 hours. Number two, the world is going round the sun, and that takes 365 days, which is the year according to the, let's call it the secular year. Just as a side point, the reason why we have a Schiklia, which is the leap year, which is the Adar Sheni, is because we need Pesach to fall in the month of Aviv in spring. And since we go with the lunar year, which is according to the moon, we are 354 days a year. That's the 12 times a moon cycle is 354. Therefore, we are missing every year 11 days from the solar year. So eventually, Pesach will be falling backwards more and more into the winter. And we need Pesach to be in the spring. As the Pasuk says, Pesach has to be b'chodesh ha'aviv. So therefore, in order for Pesach to be in chodesh ha'aviv, every couple of years, we have a schiklia, which is add on an extra month of Adar, in order that Pesach comes back into spring. And the reason for that is because according to the Jewish calendar, we are 11 days less than the 365 days. Okay, coming back to our international dateline. We just explained that the world turns 24 hours. That's one day. 365 days is around the sun. So as you said, sorry, what's your name before the one who spoke up? Sorry.
Meir.
Meir. And achternaam?
Solomon. It's written.
No, don't. The bottom. Sorry, I didn't see. Sorry, Meir Solomon. Okay, so Meir says a very good point. Everyone says that the sun's coming up and the sun's going down. That's the wrong way to say it, because the actual sun is in its place in the center and the world is going around the sun. We only say that because it looks like it. It looks like the sun is coming up in the east and going down in the west. But the world is turning around, so therefore we come towards the sun, and therefore the sun looks like it's coming up. We started off before and saying, what happened by B'rias Ha'olam? The world was created, and we know the center of the world is Eretz Yisrael. There's a big argument, a big machlokas, is by B'rias Ha'olam, by creation of the world. Let's go to Shabbos, the first Shabbos. Shabbos started at 6 o'clock in the afternoon in Yerushalayim. That was the first Shabbos 5,780 years ago. Now, when was the first Shabbos 5,780 years ago in America? Was it 9 hours or 8 hours after Yerushalayim? So it must have been, because the sun wasn't there yet. I see someone nodding their head. But the creation of Shabbos, the Bria of Shabbos, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, now it's Shabbos. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said it. If we were around and we were in America at the time of B'rias Ha'olam, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to us in New York, 8 hours after he said in Yerushalayim, he said to us, now it's Shabbos or not? You hear the question? Interesting question. Let's put ourselves
8 hours or 9 hours after Yerushalayim.
So HaKadosh Baruch Hu went around the world, according to what you're saying, which is the opinion of some, of many. HaKadosh Baruch Hu started his world trip. Let's put it that way, right? Around the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu started his world, after he just created a beautiful world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took a trip just before Shabbos. And in Yerushalayim, he said, now it's Shabbos. Or it's going to be Shabbos because he's continuing his travels, right? And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes, let's just fast forward to America, 8 hours later, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, now it's Shabbos.
It wasn't Gan Eden.
So for us in this world, when was the creation of Shabbos? 5,780 years ago
In Gan Eden.
in Gan Eden. So if you were standing in New York on the first Friday night, when it was Shabbos in America, in Eretz Israel, so the creation of Shabbos was not yet given to you, and there's no Chiyuv Shabbos yet. I know HaKadosh Baruch Hu took place in Gan Eden, but what happened in Gan Eden? Did Gan Eden HaKadosh Baruch Hu say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the world? He created the world for human beings. So when did he create Shabbos in New York? Interesting discussion. So some are of the opinion that, like you said, Mayor Solomon, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu went round, and as it became Friday night in each place, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created Shabbos in each place. There was the Brias Olam, and that's what happened throughout the 7 days of creation. When it came to day and night, HaKadosh Baruch Hu started the day in this place, and he started the same day later on in the next place. So Shabbos in New York was given by HaKadosh Baruch Hu 8 hours after it was given in Yerushalayim. Interesting.
I think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave Shabbos in New York after Columbus discovered that people came there.
Okay. So there's no Shabbos before Columbus. Okay. So
But on the same day, eh?
we have to thank. So all the Jews have to thank Columbus for Shabbos.
Uri.
Yes, I'm listening.
It's on the same day.
On the same day, 8 hours later.
Yeah, of course, but it is the same day.
It's the same day, correct. At the end of, okay, but let's fast forward another 23 hours. So if you come back to Yerushalayim, let's call it in Jordan, 1 hour before Israel, right? So 23 hours later, which is almost the end of Shabbos in Israel, HaKadosh Baruch Hu now created Shabbos in Jordan. Right? That sounds.
Depends on which way he's turning around the world.
I know, but we just said now that the world, the sun is, the world is turning, and we can see that if you look out the window.
You know, he's going by the light.
He's going by the light. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the light, right? And he said, "Vayhi erev, vayhi voiker," which is, by the way, why the Jewish day starts by night. The pasuk says very clearly, "Vayhi erev, vayhi boiker." It was the evening and day. That was the end of day one. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the day according to dark and light, which is the evening and the sun. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is traveling in a direction where it's light. Here's Shabbos, here's Shabbos, here's Shabbos. And then as soon as he comes back to Israel, at the end of his 24-hour trip around the world, the last place which he created Shabbos was 1 hour east of Israel. Correct? Is everyone with me?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
But he creating the sun, where the light is coming from today, the sun and the moon, on the fourth day, not on the first day. The first day was the light of himself, and on the fourth day he creating the earth of the sun and the moon.
You're right. So that's a side question: is how was it one day? How was the end of the first day considered the end of the first day if there wasn't yet a sun and moon? If it wasn't yet 25. Okay, that's a good point. But coming to, yes, Inga.
But time is relative. I think that the further you are from creation, further you are from this world, the more relative it becomes.
You're right. But God created the world for us to live in. We have to understand what happened by creation. We have to understand what happened 5,780 years ago in the world that we live in.
But there was not so many people, so there were not so many times.
Okay. Okay, not so many people doesn't mean that we don't have to understand what happened. Before Columbus also. We're trying to understand the week of creation. Okay, let's not get too sidetracked on this because there's a lot in this topic to discuss. And so going back to the first Shabbos, in this world, 5,980 years ago, there's a discussion between the Maharit and the Mo'er Ksio, which is Achronim. Two people, many actually, have a discussion exactly what took place. Some of the opinion, like we explained now, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created Shabbos as it became Shabbos. So as the sun was moving around the world, the Shabbos, it's Shabbos, it's Shabbos, it's Shabbos, it's Shabbos. Because it started, let's say, the creation, the center of the world was in Israel, and as the sun goes further west, now it's sunset, now it's going to be Shabbos. Some of the opinion, not like that. Everything was based and created around Eretz Yisrael. There was one creation, and Kosh Baruch Hu said right over here, maybe like you said before, from Gan Eden, but the focus point and the only discussion at that time was for Israel. Maybe like you in, I think, Inca, that in the no one was living in America at the time. Okay, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu said over here is Shabbos, and when we celebrate Shabbos in America, it's in order to remember that creation that took place in Israel 5,780 years ago. Okay, so now that's a little bit clear, exactly, just to realize at the time of creation, there's a similar question, exactly what took place in terms of Brias Olam as the sun is moving around the world. Let's go to the point, and that is, where is the international dateline according to Halacha? We know, and we explained very clearly, we need a dateline, because once we start going left and right, somewhere you're going to hit a dateline. Now, if I ask you just to think about it, where could I put the dateline? I could say I could put it anywhere. Really, we need a dateline somewhere, and it could be here, it could be there, it could be anywhere. Without thinking into any reason why to make it in a particular place, put it somewhere. The funny thing is that until only 1850, about the year 1850. Now we're in 2020. So only about 170 years ago was the civil international dateline created. That means for the first 5,600 about years ago, 5,500 something years ago, there was no international dateline. Every person lived in their own place, and they just went. The morning was the morning, and the evening was the evening. You can check it up if you want to look it up online. You can see there was a huge gathering in a place called Greenwich. Have you heard of that? Greenwich is a place in London. I've been there. I'm from London. Greenwich. So if you notice in the clock it says Greenwich Mean Time, GMT. GMT means Greenwich Mean Time. What does Greenwich mean? Greenwich is a place where world leaders got together. I think President of America was there at the time. I don't know exactly all the details, but from many, many countries around the world, they got together and decided the world needs a dateline. And they decided there and then that the dateline is going to be right in the middle. They were sitting in Greenwich, and they said the opposite side of the world where we are sitting now. We are sitting in Greenwich. The world is 360 degrees. So the opposite side of Greenwich is 180 degrees. And I'm going to share my screen with me so you can see it clearly. I'm going to bring it up on my screen, just a map of the world. You can see. I'm going to do share screen, and you will see that I am going to bring it up. Are you with me?
No.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, you see the world map?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. It's clear?
Yes.
Maybe just go, just bring up some other pictures. Maybe that one's slightly better. Okay, this picture here. You see the black line down the middle of the paper? It says Civil International Dateline. The black line, it says Civil International Dateline. Okay, so this line over here, which you see, the black one, is the dateline as of today. This was created and decided only in the year, I think, 1850, 1852 by world leaders. They sat in Greenwich and they made Greenwich the 0 point. And the date line will be 12 hours left and 12 hours right. That means 180 degrees left, 180 degrees right. We'll go 12 hours each way, and that will be the date line. So that black line is the international date line of today. So if we are traveling, if you see the China on the left and the United States on the right, you should see that. So if we're traveling from England towards Asia, so we are traveling east, right? We're traveling east. So you're going ahead in time. So as we come in Asia, China, Japan, we hit the black line. So that black line now will be 12 hours ahead of London. As soon as you cross over that date line, you will be 24 hours back into the previous day. If we are traveling from United States, west, so we are on a plane now. We just took off from Los Angeles, right there, California. We are taking off on a plane and we are traveling from United States towards Japan. So we are traveling in the direction of the sun. So we are traveling in the direction of the sun, and it will be 1 hour ahead, 1 hour ahead, 1 hour, sorry, 1 hour behind, 1 hour behind, 1 hour behind. You cross the black line, you will jump a day, 1 hour ahead. Okay, so that black line over here was created in Greenwich in the year 1850. Okay, I'm just going to stop showing my screen a second so I can come back to you. Okay, everyone saw that screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that black line is today's international day line. As you saw, that line is not straight. It's not a straight line down the middle of the world. It's a line which goes right and left and it cuts through islands. Why? Because for convenience sake, they don't want to have a date line going through a country, going through an island. So in the world, the most convenient place would be to put that line through the Pacific Ocean, but not straight down the middle because for convenience sake.
It's going around Samoa.
Yeah,
Samoa
it's not going
is the
straight.
black line. The Hawaii and
Yeah.
Samoa, that's going around.
It's going round, yeah, it's going actually around Russia, and it's going around Kiribati, and yeah, also Samoa. So
Yeah.
Samoa, so they did that for convenience sake. And it doesn't go straight down through Alaska and Russia over there, but that was created then at the time. Beautiful. Let's go according to Halacha. Does Halacha agree with that? Or do we have anywhere in Halacha slightly different?
I think it is different because the line, the timeline they set is by human.
Okay.
And,
So
and
what is the
Shabbat
timeline?
is not by human.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a very good point. We'll come to that soon. So if I ask you, so where would the halakhic, where halachically should we put a deadline? We need to put it somewhere. So where should we put it halachically?
That's a tough question.
That's a very tough question.
If Jerusalem is the middle of the world, then the line should be put just on the opposite side of the world. Let's say from Jerusalem, not from Greenwich, but from the.
Good point,
Jerusalem.
Inga. You
Ah,
become president.
so if you were sitting in Greenwich, you would say, hey, Israel is the center of the world, and let's do the opposite side of Israel. So where would be?
Greenwich? I would say that Greenwich is the center of the world. But if
Ah,
I think that
okay. So similar to what you are, not exactly the same, but there's a very, very famous Chazon Ish. There was a whole story in 1942 when Jews were running away during the World War, and they ended up in countries very close to the international date line by Japan and I think Shanghai and these places, where the question came to the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish was a big famous rabbi in Israel, and 1942 the question was posed to him, Rabbi, tell us halachically, where is the international date line? We have to remember, before 60, 70, 80 years ago, it wasn't such a big question. It wasn't so relevant, really. Of course, halachically speaking, you want to know, but relevance was much, much less than it is today. Today, the world is so small, you can get on a plane, you travel, and we'll see later on. Hopefully, we'll have time to get into the big questions when crossing the date line in Halacha. But now we're discussing where the date line is. So, the Chazon Ish was asked in 1942, halachically speaking, tell us where is the date line. He said as follows, very, very, very interesting. He said, the center of the world, like you said, is Israel. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu put the sun into creation in Israel, the sun was put directly above Israel. Right? So now let's imagine, because I haven't got a board over here, it's a bit complicated on Zoom. We're standing in Jerusalem, and the sun is directly on top of my head at the time of creation. So the sun is shining down onto half the world. Because at any given moment, half the world has the sun. Correct? Some middle of the day, some beginning of the day, some at the end of the day. But at any given moment, the sun is shining onto half of the world. Correct?
Mhm.
So, on the day of creation of the sun, it was put into Israel right on top. So 90 degrees left and 90 degrees right is at this moment that gets the sun for the first time. Right?
Mhm.
Everyone with me?
Yeah.
So the sun, the beginning, the first point east that gets the sun, the beginning point is 90 degrees right, let's call it east, from Yerushalayim. Says the Chazon Ish, that is where the international date line is. He bases it obviously on the Gemaras and the Rishonim, and he's not just saying from his without any sources. The Chazon Ish bases it very clearly on Gemaras and Rishonim. That, let's just repeat again very quickly. The first point of the sun on the time of creation was above Yerushalayim. When the sun shines, it goes over half the world, which is 180 degrees. So, when the sun starts moving, it starts from 90 degrees right and 90 degrees left. So 90 degrees right, it starts going away the sun already. 90 degrees left is getting more sun. So where the sun started moving away from its first point, it was 90 degrees right from Yerushalayim. Says the Chazon Ish, that is where the international dateline is. If you think about it, it makes sense, right? Beginning of creation, the sun was on top of the Yerushalayim, 90 degrees right, and that's. I'm going to bring up the screen with you a second. I'm going to share my screen, and you'll see the Chazon Ish's line. I'll share with you my screen again, and you'll see. Have a look. You see over here, Chazon Ish. You see this? I'm going to see my cursor over here, blue line. I don't see you because I'm sharing my screen, but if one of you could say yes.
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 Okay, so where my cursor is, my line is on the Chazon Ish.
Correct.
The Chazon Ish is right over here. His line goes this dot, 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 Chazon Ish right down over here. So he is about how many hours off from this international dateline? I don't know, 4, 5, 6, something like that. I don't know exactly. Now, there's a very, very, very complicated outcome from the Chazon Ish. If you look at the line,
8 hours. 8 hours.
8 hours different to the Chazon
Yeah,
Ish.
because it is a quart of 24. And 24, 8, sorry,
It's 16,
6.
no, 6 hours.
6.
6 hours off. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
6 hours different than the civil international dateline.
And
Now-
how many hours are from Israel to London difference?
Today, Israel London is 2 hours.
2 hours, yeah.
Yeah. So if we go with the Chazon Ish, there's a big problem with the Chazon Ish. Why? Because let's say I am in Australia. You see the bottom of the page, Australia?
Yes,
It's not so clear, but there's Australia.
in blue.
In blue. Half blue, half green. The Chazon Ish's line goes through Australia. It goes through China, through Russia. So imagine the two of us, or a few of us, are living together in China. One is on one side of the street. He has Friday. And the person on the other side of the street has Shabbos. Right? That's what comes out. I'm just going to stop sharing. Just to see, you see what's going on over here? According to Chazon Ish, that's where the dateline is. So as soon as you cross the other side of the street and you say good Shabbos to your neighbor, he'll say, hi, no, it's Sunday. Right? That's what comes out.
But maybe you can share his Havdalah.
Nah, when he's making Havdalah, you're making Kiddush, right?
Yes.
His Havdalah is your Kiddush. He's with the candle and you're with your challahs. Okay, that's a great idea, right? He's having Lav Malka, he'll come to you for Friday night meal.
But you can ask him to do your Shabbos melachas.
Okay, but when he comes to your house, he's coming back into Shabbos. Okay, then you hit a problem. Okay? Okay, so the Chazon Ish tackled this problem, and he obviously basing it on proper sources. He says you do not have a dateline going through land. The dateline is theoretical through land and through water, but you can't cut a land into two. And the right part of the land is included in the left part of the land. Now I'll bring up just to show you the dotted line. No, I'm not showing my screen yet. Hold on a second. The dotted line of the Chazon Ish. Again, hold on a second. You see it? Okay, look at the dotted line again of the Chazon Ish. There, it's only dot, because that's not where the actual line goes. Since that is the middle of land, look at my cursor, it goes on the outside of the land. You see all this? The dark blue line is where the date line is. So it's nowhere near straight. It doesn't go through land, but that's where it should be. It goes round Asia, round Russia, round the Philippines, and you go down round the right of Australia. So the whole right of Australia is included in the left part, meaning that if it's Shabbos on the left part of Australia, it's the whole Australia is going to be Shabbos, because a date line does not go through land. So again, the Chazon Ish's date line is 90 degrees right from Yerushalayim, but it does not go through land, it goes round land. And therefore, anything which is part of a land, is the right part becomes part of the left part. Now, major problems with the Chazon Ish is, have a look a second at Japan. Very interesting. Look, you see Japan? The red line over here? This is Japan. So, you can have Japan, which is under a good part of, this is Russia over here at the top, which is going to be a day ahead, a day behind, right? A day behind Russia, and it's right next to each other, right? So really, if you look at my cursor over here, all this from where my cursor is, all this from the blue till the dotted blue is all part of the green day, of the Russia day. This Japan over here, which is all within and under on line from Russia, is going to be part of the next day. So according to the Chazon Ish's understanding, or let's actually zoom into a better map. Here, North Korea. You see over here? You see North Korea?
Yes, we see.
North Korea, South Korea. So the Chazon Ish's line, if you follow my cursor, goes round and round and round, roundest. Nachon? It goes round. So if it is really, the line would be somewhere around over here, according to the Chazon Ish. Through the water is the date line. So through water, you could make a date line, but not through land. So land is included in the right part of the land, is all included in the left part of the land. So if I go, according to the Chazon Ish, I'm in South Korea. I take a boat on Sunday, right? Out of South Korea. What's happening?
You're going to Shabbos.
You're going into Shabbos. I continue and continue and continue in this direction. I come into some place called Shandong. You see over here, Shandong?
Mm-hmm.
You're going back into Sunday. Right? So there's really no logical sense over here. It's Shabbos over here. I'm continuing traveling west. I go into Shabbos and I continue going west and I go back into Sunday. That's what comes out according to the Chazon Ish. Because through water you can make a Dateline, but not through land. So South Korea is part of the whole left day. And the Yellow Sea over here is going to be part of the previous day. And I continue traveling west and I can go to Shandong and I'm going back into Sunday. Very interesting. Now, just to share with you a short story, and that is Australia. We just now said that Australia, according to the Chazon Ish's line, Australia also has a line going through it, but you don't split the land into two. Therefore, the whole Australia goes with the left. That means since there is a line, the date line of the Chazon Ish is with goes through Australia, the whole right of the country gets drawn to the left, which is the previous day. So till today, has anyone over here online been to Australia? Not yet. Okay. So Australians have I had a friend's wedding, so I've been to Australia. And in Australia, according to the Chazon Ish, if you are in Melbourne, right? You are in Melbourne on Sunday. As soon as you go into the water, Melbourne's on the coast. Melbourne is on the east coast of Australia, right? As soon as you go into the water on Sunday, according to the Chazon Ish, what's happened?
You're going to Shabbos.
You're going into Shabbos.
Yeah.
So still today, when I was in Australia,
You swim into Shabbos.
you swim into Shabbos. Seriously, you swim. You go for mikveh, right? You swim into Shabbos.
No mikveh. You have to.
You swim into Shabbos. So most of a high percentage of the Jewish community today in Melbourne do not go to the beach on Sunday because of the Chazon Ish. They are choshesh. They're worried that the international dateline is according to the opinion of the Chazon Ish, and therefore, if I go to the beach on Sunday, the dateline is on the coast, is on as soon as you hit the water, not in land, but as soon as you go into water, you're hitting the dateline, and therefore don't go. So I didn't go to the beach on Sunday because I was told the Chazon Ish, you're going back into Shabbos. Now, if you fly out of Australia, you want to fly from Melbourne to New Zealand, which is not that far away. You're definitely flying, according to the Chazon Ish, you're flying back into Shabbos. So no Australian would fly into Melbourne from Melbourne into New Zealand. So what happens is if Australians want to travel on Sunday or Motzei Shabbos, they'll always make sure to travel in the direction west. That means if they come into Israel, they won't travel over the dateline of the Chazon Ish because of according to the Chazon Ish, you're going back into Shabbos. Okay, let's continue. So far we have two opinions, and that is the international civil dateline, where it is 180 degrees from Greenwich. We have the Chazon Ish, who says it's 90 degrees from Israel, but you don't go through land, and therefore the international dateline goes round land, but the dateline is 90 degrees from Yerushalayim. Comes along a third opinion, and that is a famous one from Rabbi Michal Tukachinsky, who was a rabbi Rav in Eretz Yisrael, who the question at the time, I think in 1942, also came to him, and he held, like you said, Inga, that the international dateline is 180 degrees from Yerushalayim. Let me see if I have it on the diagram, which I want to share with you. That means the opposite side of the world is the center of the world is Yerushalayim. The exact opposite, 180 degrees from Yerushalayim, is where the international dateline is, according to Rabbi Michal Tukachinsky. Let's see if it's on here. Do I have it? Here we go. You see over here. Look at the purple line. Purple line.
Yeah.
Rav Tukachinsky's line. Rav Tukachinsky's line is 180 degrees from Yerushalayim. Halfway around the world. And he holds even, look at this over here, you see it? So it's much, much, much straighter than the Chazon Ish's line because there's much less land that it's going through. But this is where his line is, like you said, the 180 degrees from Yerushalayim. So how many hours off or different than the civil international dateline would that be?
12?
No, then the civil one.
I think around 3.
Yeah. 180 to 1.
Yeah. It's 12 is the half, and I
Oh,
think
from the black.
from
yeah.
Jerusalem.
No, from the civil one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, from this one. From this.
What's the difference between the black one and the purple one? The black one is
6 hours.
But it depends on if you are in the area of Hawaii, for example, then you are it is closer, so it is a little bit different.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take Hawaii. Hawaii is a good question. Hawaii over here itself, according to Rav Tukachinsky, when is Shabbos in Hawaii? On our days. It will be, since the deadline is over here, so it will be on their Sunday.
It's 11 hours before in Jerusalem.
Exactly. So what today is in Hawaii, if you're in Hawaii, what we call in the calendar of the world that we live in today, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, to when you are in Hawaii on Sunday, right?
Yes.
According to Rav Tukachinsky, it's Shabbos. Correct?
Yeah, to the east.
Right? And according to the civil international dateline, it's going to be Sunday. So countries like Hawaii, countries like Japan, and all those islands in between are in a very, very much of a big... sorry, I hear echo.
Abram.
Uiteindelijk heb ik deze mail gehad van die.
Abram Gizar.
Daarin zeggen ze.
Abram is has his
televisie. Het spijt ons, u moet het informeren dat het niet mogelijk is.
Nee, ik weet dat niet.
Om tussen te komen in verzekeringskwesties.
Bas de Bruin.
Belachelijk. Ze weigeren gewoon
Bas de Bruin.
alle hulp.
Sorry. Ja, wat is er?
Disney wil alleen een wijzigingsformulier afgeven.
Ik vind dat echt belachelijk.
Je moet op mute staan. Je hoort de hele tijd televisie bij jou op de achtergrond.
You hear me? You hear me?
Yep.
Okay. We have the international dateline, 180 degrees from Greenwich. We have the Chazon Ish.
I mute everybody except you.
Okay, so we have the international dateline, which is 180 degrees from Greenwich. We have the Chazon Ish, which is 90 degrees from Yerushalayim. We have Rav Michael Tukachinsky, which is 180 degrees from Yerushalayim. So the area where the dateline, according to different opinions, are like Hawaii and Japan, is a very, very big question. Halacha l'maisa. When is Shabbos in these places? If Jews are not living there, it doesn't really make much of a difference. But when it comes to questions like Shabbos, and we'll see soon some other questions, it's a very, very, very big question. Halacha l'maisa. Now, the interesting thing is, many poskim are of the opinion that halachically speaking, the international dateline is exactly where the civil world international dateline is. And this brings us to a point which we said before, I think Mayor Solomon, you brought this up, is that Shabbos is in our hands. We bring in Shabbos. And they quote, we haven't got so much time. Unfortunately, this share is really for a 2-hour share, and we only have 1 hour. So we have 7 minutes left. I'm going to try and wrap it up and come out with the halacha and interesting questions if you cross dateline. So, according to the fourth opinion that held that we can go with the international dateline is because there's an interesting Gemara. The Gemara tells us if there's a person who's walking in the desert and he is totally lost in time. He has no idea which day of the week it is. He doesn't know if it's Sunday, doesn't know if it's Monday, is completely lost. When should this person keep Shabbos? What should he do? He has no Google Maps. He has no Wi-Fi connection. He hasn't got any way of knowing which day of the week it is. When
I think he can do it every day after sundown.
So he should keep Shabbos every day.
Well,
So
no, he can start it every day after sundown, and the sun has come up, but then he has Abdallah. So it doesn't matter if he got no knowledge about date.
But then he's keeping Shabbos for 7 days a week.
No. Just one day, but any day because he got no knowledge of the date.
So you say he can choose any day? You say he can choose it? No. So which day should he choose?
Any day, but after only one day he can choose, but he can choose it only from.
But I'm asking you, if which day should you choose?
Any day after you start counting.
Any day.
Oh, very good. So Halacha tells us count 6 days, and on day 7 for you is Shabbos, until you come back to the place. Okay, Halacha tells. So that's good. That's what Halacha tells us. Count 6 days, and on 7th day is Shabbos for you. Okay, it's a long discussion. It's very interesting. What comes out from this point is that Shabbos is something which was given to a certain extent to the power of a human being. Of course, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created Shabbos by Ma'aseh Bereshis, but the same way as we have the power to bring it in early, if we are stuck in the midbar and we don't know when Shabbos is, you have the power to make that right now. If I don't know when Shabbos is at this point, count 6 days, and then for you it is Shabbos. Therefore, many poskim held that the international dateline can be fixed according to your best convenience. Since the same way as the Gemara tells us, when you are in the midbar, you can, and we don't know when to keep Shabbos, you can count 6 days and then 7th day is Shabbos. So the power and the koyach of bringing Kiddush Shabbos upon you is in the hands b'dei Adam. That's where HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't tell us clearly where the dateline is. So say many poskim, therefore one can fix the calendar, the dateline, according to the best convenience, and therefore the international dateline, halachically speaking, according to many poskim, is exactly where the civil world have fixed it. So to wrap this up, there's 4 different opinions. The civil international dateline, 180 degrees from Greenwich, and we just said now many poskim hold that is where it is halacha l'maisa. We have the Chazon Ish, 90 degrees from Israel. We don't go through land, we only go through round land. And then we have Rabbi Gury, which is 180 degrees from Yerushalayim. Now let's bring up just 1 or 2 very, very interesting questions. When it comes to flying over the international dateline, which is Negea today, if a person's flying from Los Angeles to Melbourne. So according to every single opinion in Halacha, international dateline, the Chazon Ish, the Rabbi Gury, you have definitely crossed the dateline, according to everyone. So when you leave Los Angeles on Sunday, you can fly for 26 hours and you come there at the same time you just left, because you went back a day. If you're going from Melbourne to Los Angeles, you lose a day.
It depends on which direction. Are you going
to that's what I'm saying.
Or are you going to the east?
Yeah, so one way you lose a day, one way you gain the day. You gain a day. We have literally 2 minutes left. So let's just try to get two very interesting points in here. What happens by interesting halacha of Sfira So'imer? A person crosses the international dateline during the Sfira. So he counts a Sfira, let's say day 20 on Tuesday night. And now he crosses the dateline. Let's say he goes back a day. Does he count day 20 again or not? Or he flies the opposite direction. He flies in a direction where he loses a day. So today he counts day 20, and all of a sudden they're up to day 22 because he missed day 21.
No, so you give already the answer. He's losing a day, so he can't count.
So very interesting. So you're saying he's lost his bracha. So anyone who flies from Melbourne to Los Angeles during the sphere, all the Australians who fly have lost their bracha.
Yeah.
So some hold like you, some hold, we have 1 minute left, some hold that I have to count every day where I am. So the fact that I've lost a day doesn't mean anything because I didn't actually lose a day, the day got lost. And therefore, I can count in Los Angeles the date that it is over there. Very, very interesting psak, which is known by the whole Chabad community, and that is that since when it comes to Sfiras HaOmer, the mitzvah of the Yom Tov of Shavuos, the date is not written in the Torah. Doesn't say the day of Shavuos. It says Shavuos is 49 days after Pesach. So once you've counted 49 days, then it's Shavuos. Says the Lubavitcher Rebbe that if a person doesn't count 49 days, or it takes him 50 days to get to his 49 days because he crossed the deadline, then for him Shavuos is a day later. So, does everyone get that? Yeah? So, just to finish off because it's 9 o'clock, Chabad people till today, if you ask them, most of them are very makpid not to fly over the international dateline during Sfiras HaOmer in order not to have a problem with Shavuos. Because you might have to make Shavuos a day later if you lose a day. So that means you'll lose a day and you'll be 1 day behind everyone. Or if you go back a day, you'll be 1 day off. So therefore, Shavuos will be later according to you. There's many other questions. We're going to finish now. When it comes to a baby who's born, when is his bris milah on the 8th day? How does that work? With Pidyon Ben, how does it work? We're lighting the Shabbos candles if you're in a place where you're not sure if it's Shabbos yet. But we're going to finish now. Everyone who wants, there's very interesting notes. There's much more to discuss on this. My email address is yudunner@gmail.com if anyone wants to ask. But I'm going to hang up half a question because I don't want to go over time.
Uri.
Yeah.
I just one thing to say very shortly. It is the Jews are using the lunisolaire counting, that is the moon and the sun, and the Christians are using the solar, but that's the reason why they have Sunday, and the Muslims are using only the moon, not the sun. That's the reason why they have time difference.
Correct. That's why. That's why the Ramadan falls out every year, different time of the year, because they're going to say we go with the solar and the sun. That's why Pesach was this. Okay, I'm going to hang up. Nice.
Whatever you go with time and you don't have a watch and you're not aware of the line, that your Shabbos starts when you see the sun going down, and your Shabbos finished also the next day when sun is going down.
Correct. That's if you know what day of the week is. Correct. But if you don't know what day of the week is, that's what we said before. Then you have to count 6 days, and the 7th day is Shabbos. If we have another time, another chance, there's a whole interesting discussion about the North Pole and the South Pole, where the sun doesn't go down altogether. That means either it's sun the whole year or it's winter the whole year, or half the year. Half the year is winter. Okay. So there's interesting. Take care, guys. Everyone, good night, and we'll be in touch. Good night.
Thank you.